Hello and welcome back to the sideboard here from Orlando, the Star City Games Open Series in Orlando, and I am joined by Joe Perkins. How you doing?
Good, very good.
Joe, unfortunately, just picked up his second loss, but has a very interesting deck here. It's Esper Mill. And when I was looking through the deck, I was like, yeah, actually a lot of the cards are very similar to cards that you'd expect to be in normal Esper, but just have a slight mill theme to them. So talk to me about where this deck idea came from.
I have a friend who was playing Mill like a couple months ago. He doesn't play Magic a lot, and I've been playing a lot of Control, and I just 1-2 win cons, and they're just not getting there. And I'll play Control. That's my heart, and I wanted a way to fight both the meta game with against Control and against aggro, and I felt that going in this tournament that it was the best way for me to combat both of them.
Sure.
And pretty overwhelming chances of winning.
Yeah, because you're able to effectively race aggro to try to deal them 60 before they can deal you 20. And you have a lot of ways to be able to do that because you can gain life and do a bunch of mill tricks and get rid of cards that are on the board, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the cards that I was talking about, in traditional Esper, you have Divination. In Esper Mill, you instead have Pilfered Plans.
Yep, Pilfered Plans.
Which is literally the same card, except for it has a black mana cost in its casting cost, and it mills 2.
Yes.
In traditional Esper, you have Dissolve.
Mm-hmm.
In this, you have Psychic Strike.
Yes.
Which, instead of scrying, you mill 2.
Yep.
So you actually have a lot of repeatable effects. Like you still have a 3-mana counterspell, unconditional counterspell. You still have a 3-mana draw 2. You still have Sphinx's Revelation.
Yep.
You still have, for example, Thoughtseize, a lot of things that Esper is able to control with. You've just decided to change the win condition.
Yep. One of the things I would like to point out is that when you mill them too, it makes their scry a lot worse if they keep it on top.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
They scry and then they play something, then I counter. It's like mill that what you thought you were going to have next turn away, and you're making the next play based upon what was on top as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Another card that, well, perhaps obviously the main win condition is going to be Jace Memory Adept.
Yes.
But in order to help Jace Memory Adept to get to where he needs to be, you have Breaking and Entering. Now, you can't cast Entering.
Nope.
So you can't get any of your opponent's sweet, Zathri Necromancers or whatever they happen to have in their deck.
Yeah.
But you can mill for 8.
Yes, exactly.
And so almost Glimpse the Unthinkable, good enough for this deck.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's only 2 mana. It's not a huge investment.
Mill 8, and most likely you've scryed either your first or second land, and then I just mill it away as well. And,
now, a card that I wasn't expecting to see in a constructed standard main deck is Crypt Incursion.
Yep.
Crypt Incursion, I saw it as a sideboard card against Living End in Modern once, and was very confused by that. But you have it in the main deck here, and it gains you a lot of life. Tell me about some stories about Crypt Incursion today.
4 copies in the main board, and I've gained 45 plus life, 20 game 1, 27, game 2, 33, and they're making the plays to attack me. And one guy, I milled him, and then I was at 9, and he had 12 power on board, and he swung at me, and I Crypt Incursion for 33, and then I milled him out with Jace.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't actually kill me or Jace at the same time, so he just went after me to try to win the game.
There you go.
And just Crypt Incursion just breaks any really aggro deck.
It also really helps against, it depends on if they have Scavenging Ooze first or not, but it's able to keep Scavenging Oozes in check.
Yep.
For example, you're fighting over the same resource, but that card is definitely not something I expected to see doing well today.
Nope.
We have more cards in the sideboard, and it's a very traditional Esper sideboard for the most part.
Yes.
About 10 of the cards are Duress, Doomblade, the things you'd expect to see in sideboards. But then you've got Ashok, Nightmare Weaver, and Mind Grind.
Yes.
To supplement the milling theme. So tell me what those 2 cards are for which matchups. Let's start with Ashiok.
Ashiok is going to come in against Control. It's an early Planeswalker threat that they need to have. And he can just win a game just by plus. By the time you deal with it, I've probably already milled you a couple other times, and then I play my bigger threats.
Right.
Although I've not ran into any other Control decks today to where I can't utilize them. And then Mind Grind as well is the same thing. He comes in against Control. You could bait them with the large Sphinx at the end of their turn. They counter it, then you come back with that.
Right.
And
Sphinx for 6 at the end of the turn. They counter it, and then you Mind Grind for 8 or something.
To where 8 lands, that's pretty much, that's 3/4 or 1/4 of your 1/3 of your mana base. So
it must feel real good when they flip over Elixir of Immortality. So.
Yeah, I was playing last night at F&M, and I made some changes afterwards, but it just felt good to turn to mill and like, oh hey, nice Lilian or Elspeth.
Right.
Yeah,
get their only win condition, because blue-white often only runs 2 or 3 win conditions.
Yes, exactly.
So at that point, you've milled their 3 win conditions, so you could literally play Drago for the rest of the game and still win.
Yeah. Patience is one of the key when you're playing this. Just keep milling them and keep Cryptic Incursion always in mind, because that card could just save you out of nowhere.
Yeah, you can always be like, well, looks like I'm dead unless I gain 40.
Well, like there's one game I gained 6 just because I needed to,
right.
And then the next time I milled breaking, and then I Cryptic Incursion on my next turn, and it was just like, okay, I win.
Absolutely, yeah.
To help me get back in there. Some of the downfalls of the deck that I found is that once I've been up there, at 40, 50 life, and I really don't have anything to get back into the game.
Sure.
That's been the biggest problem with the deck.
Yeah. Need more Planeswalker power, probably.
Yeah. You need some more card draw. I might probably bump it up to 4 Sphinxes instead of 3. And yeah, it's a pretty sweet deck, though. I really
Excellent.
enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that you can do to this deck. For example, Azorius Charm. It's a card I was thinking about. With all the mills, it's just a kill spell at that point half the time. Plus, you can cycle it to draw. There's a lot of things you can do to this deck.
Yeah.
And the format is not fully explored, as this deck has proven.
Yeah.
As much as we see mono blue and mono black all over the top tables, and also green-red monsters, there's still plenty of room for innovation before Born of the Gods comes out. So, Joe, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Joe Perkins here at the Star City Games Open Series in Orlando, and we'll be back with live coverage all weekend long here on Star City Games Live.